Hey Kapil, um, I've just been thinking about love recently, and I've come to the conclusion that, well, not conclusion, but I feel like it has a lot to do with sacrifice. I just wanted to know the truth about love.
become chasing that thing. So because you have mentioned in one of your videos that if you are chasing something, it moves away from you. But whenever we have a desire to get something, we start working, and sometimes it become a chasing. So how do we know, or like when we are like chasing, or like when do we know that?
Well, what do you mean by working?
Working on it, let's say like it's making money, or like we have a goal, and to reach that goal, I'll be doing certain things. Uh, at some point, sometimes I feel like it's also becoming a chase. But is there a way to know exactly know something is
So
chasing?
I think what I think I think an important thing to understand um, is if I take a moment to respond to a question, and if I ask a question, the question is not the question is not as rudimentary as it sounds. So I asked you a question, what is working? And you sort of blew it off. You answered it according to a second grade examination of the fact that a question was posed to you. When anybody else in the world, and I do not mean to be egoistic, it just is the way it is, and if it sounds that way, so be it. When anyone else in the world asks you a question, they're talking nonsense because they're not really probing. They're simply asking a top of a head question like a spinal reflex. If I take a moment to ask a question, it should almost be unanswerable. And if you have a response right away, you didn't hear the question. That maybe needs a further discussion. In this world, what what happens is that when you speak to another human being, you say blah blah blah, and that blah 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 incites a response of blah blah blah, which in turn incites you to say blah blah blah. And you is everybody listening and everybody in the world, which in turn incites the other person to produce blah blah blah. So it really isn't two humans speaking. It is blah 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 speaking to blah blah blah. And if the mouths could be excised from the body, and the mouths could both be left hanging in the air, mouth to mouth, and the human being and the body of the human being to whom those mouths belonged, if they just went home and left the two mouths, four total lips, blah, blah, blahing, that's what you have in the world. That's what exists. Therefore, when I say something, when I ask a question, it doesn't mean that you should listen. It doesn't mean that you should think it's important. It doesn't mean that you should take notes. It doesn't mean that you should even be here. I don't have any interest of whether you have any interest in listening or not. What I will say is that if I use any ounce of energy to ask a question, one thing I can promise you, it is not going to be blah, blah, blah. And the question may sound second grade. But that is because everything that you are used to hearing in your entire life isn't really speech. It's just noise. Therefore, because you're accustomed to hearing noise and you're responding to the noise, and that's how your 20 and 30 and 60 and 70 years of life have gone, then when I say something, you behave in the exact same manner as if I'm blah blahing like the rest, and I don't. Because if I was going to blah blah, I wouldn't have taken on the question to begin with. And then if I take on the question, that's one thing. That's 1 ounce of energy. And then if I happen to ask a question, that's another level of energy that I'm expending. And so if I have that expenditure, it would be wise to understand, if you have any interest in what I say at all, not that you should, that if I ask a question, it is about 675,000 times deeper than you think what is being asked. And if that same phrase, if those same words put in that same sequence, in that same order, was asked by anybody else, then the rapid spinal reflex response that you provide would be warranted. In my case, it is not. Not because I'm smarter, not because I'm better, but because I don't blah blah. What is missing in this world is what necessarily must be missing. It has to be missing because the world is composed of cosmetics. The world is composed of nothing that is authentic, genuine, or real. Therefore, the exquisiteness of quality, the carefulness of word choice, the gravity of intention, the precision of speech and action is missing. And when I say that it is missing, it is not a call for revolution. It is not a recommendation that let's all get together and make it no longer be missing. Rather, it is an observation that will be had by anyone who has any interest in wisdom to recognize not that it's missing and therefore it must be corrected, but that it's missing and that there's a reason why it's missing. That it's missing and there's a reason why it will always be missing. When something is what it is, and it cannot change, then all which comes from that thing will also be what it is and will not change. The world and the people of the world will always be as they are. not devoted to truth, not devoted to the extraordinary heights of quality, not devoted to devotion. Their life does not hang on the edge of the desire to be great, the desire not to waste time. And because that is the nature of the world, and because that is the nature of the people of the world, then all of the offshoots, all of the things downstream, all of the offshoots, all of the things downstream can never change, nor should they, because the source of that which is downstream will never change. One may also wish to ask himself why he is even here. I'm not going to give any tips and tricks. I'm not going to give a how-to. I'm not going to ask you to improve. I'm not going to give you any 5-step plans. I'm not going to answer the majority of questions which come. So one may want to ask himself why they have come here at all. Not that they should or should not. Ask yourself, why are you here? I don't want to know why you're here. But you may wish to ask yourself that question. Human beings have a lot of questions, and rightly so, because life is extremely confusing. It is very, and as a result, there is endless confusion and suffering and misery and turmoil and strife in every human life. But the way out of those things is never through the vehicle of prescription, of method, technique, hack, and how-to. Those are for very small-minded, single neuron human beings. And small-mindedness and single neuronness is largely a function of conditioning. It isn't a function of innate human capacity, because the human is capable of amazing things. It is largely a function of conditioning, of brainwashing. Society and its minions and experts and the entire world of its gurus and books and media and on, they have created the human being. Let's say they have recreated him. They have created a person who babbles and doesn't know what he is babbling. And if he doesn't know something, he'll ask how to. And even if he is given a how to, he won't do it. And even if he does it, it won't work. Life demands a serious human being because life itself is serious. You know, one cannot. Life is war, and it's certainly a war if all you have is a slingshot. Then the war never ends. Absolutely exist, but they don't exist in the framework, in the lens, and by way of the vehicle through which human beings have been conditioned to pursue them.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for taking my question. How do you remove the conditioning that gets in the way of uh, greatness among your clients, please?
So your entire life is filled with beliefs, opinions, and prescriptions. That's your entire life. That's everybody's entire life. They have a lot of ideas about things. They have, they think that things are this way and not that way. They have an endless number of beliefs about things. They have a framework and mental models, all this garbage. How can a person whose psyche is so full even have the mechanical possibility of learning anything? Because anything that is true falls in the face of that which is false, or flies in the face of that which is false. But if someone is convinced of falseness, then he will automatically see that which is true as being foreign and not truth.
Hello. Thank you for taking my question. Um, I'm certain of one thing in my life, and it's I don't want to waste it. And in my pursuit of not wasting it, I read and I listen to others, and I'm still flat. And I'm wondering, what is one to do, or how, for someone who doesn't want to waste their life, how would another person think about, or sorry, I'm struggling here to articulate a question here. Um, I have an understanding that life is very precious. Precious is very temporary. However, at the same time, the business that I'm in and the work that I do, although it's useful, it isn't pleasant. Um, have this experience, um, and is and I'm not looking for an answer here. I'm just wondering why the mechanism is this way, right? Like, you know, understanding and emotions, and I'm just trying to understand why the feeling and what needs to be done are sort of counterintuitive, if that makes sense. Like, if it needs to be done, it should feel good, right? um, but my experience is the opposite. So I don't know if I made any sense.
According to you, you don't want to waste life, and therefore your remedy for that is to read and listen to others. What does that mean?
It means that I don't have a solution for the problems that needs to be solved, and so I ask others for advice. Um, and even when I listen to their advice, my spinal reaction is just like I don't even. It's wrong, you know. I won't do it. And so my question is around, like, why am I insistently asking the question?
But
You know, like,
you have to look at things. You have to look at things reasonably. And if you have are you in search of a solution to a problem, or you have a question about something, whatever it is. And and I mean this, things that are non-mechanical.
that's right.
If you read a book, or if you ask a person to find the answers to your questions, the book that you read and the person that you ask, for it to have any possibility of helping you in any consistent way. Is that correct?
Thank you for taking my question. I am a my own that are really going to change my industry. But now that I've done that, I worry that first principles are along the lines of prescriptions that I've created.
Um, so I've been living on my own for over a decade, and it's been good. And I have always done what I've wanted to do, like in my heart, so to speak. Uh, just over the years, though, I've been getting more and more pressure from family to kind of abide by certain traditions or customs, et cetera, et cetera. And I've never it's just I've never felt compatible with those things. I've never abided by them and compromised to them, and the pressures become harder or stronger and stronger. And my question to you is, it seems I've been investigating this feeling for a while, and it seems like I'm struggling to give myself permission, and it seems like I'm kind of looking to someone else or somewhere else to get permission to do what I want to do. Even though I've been doing it, it's just, I guess, like a guilty conscience almost. And so my question to you is, I guess, like, what am I not understanding about giving myself permission in this case?
Well, it's too narrow of a question, and the context is not. Uh, I don't know enough about the context to answer that question. But one thing I will say from a foundational perspective is that when there is clash, when there is the first things that often goes is one's manner of speaking, and an obvious demonstration of respect. And regardless of the detail of any question, if that is held strongly to as a foundational element, problems either go away or they certainly limit the bleeding, and they
Hi, Kapil. Thank you so much for your work. Um, I find nowadays that a lot of my life feels like gambling in a sense, even with anything professional or personal, because there's not really a spot where anyone can land on pure truth, having, or me personally, being exposed to so much non truth in my life, which I realize. I find that I just start making kind of statistical ideas of how, like, modeling how the chances of my life are going to go forward, whether that's like a thought or an action or whatever. Not trusting other people and trusting myself still feels like gambling in the same sense. Do you have any perspective on that?
Well, why wouldn't it be gambling?
I guess because the results are the same with myself and other people at the same time, if that makes sense.
Sure, why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be gambling, whether it's you, your neighbor, or a frog? Why wouldn't it be gambling?
Um, I guess because the opposite of gambling is having some sort of assured idea of what is happening, and there's an assured sense of where it's going, I guess. Um,
And that sounds like truth.
right. It feels just as unsure as the gambling part. Um,
Okay, so if you don't know the truth, then why isn't it gambling? It's not even gambling. It's a virtual guaranteed loss. At least gambling, you can roll the asking for advice or even from any source which does not know truth, have truth, or is devoted to truth isn't just gambling.
is it fair to say that trying to search for someone who does have the truth is also gambling in a sense as well? I guess. Again, I'm not trying to search for a resolution here. I guess is it
Well, I
all?
mean, no, if you're trying to search for someone who has the truth, um, I don't know what else. I don't know what else you could do, whether that person is yourself or somebody else. I don't know what else you could do. I mean, I don't. Uh, that that would not that would not be unwise, because if you found that person, um, then you will have found a source that can benefit you for the rest of your life.
Uh,
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for taking my question. You spoke of conditioning. My question is, should we even try to work with someone who seemingly can't go beyond their conditioning? Should we try to make the ones around us be more self?
How do you know the truth?
Truth about what?
Anything.
No, not completely.
Okay. And are you unconditioned?
No.
Then how are you going to help somebody else?
This time I do not come off as somebody that is trying to prescriptionize anything that you said before. Being absolutely alone scares me, although I often find myself in that position. I've been kind of an outcast in my school days, and the same was the case when I was in university, and now that I've started working. My early days as a child and up until now, I've never really had any connection, but I've always kind of been seeking something very real, and I cannot lie to myself. But I just find myself alone. Um, but at the same time, I know that I seek something or someone um, in a very deep way. So
Hi, Kapil. Thank you for taking my question. Actually, it's a quick one. I am really happy with me and my family, have kids, everything, but quite often I'm really taken away with the successes of others in professional life and try to again, look for further than what I already have. The challenge has been like quite to keep the things peaceful and continue it going and not kind of looking to others from a rat race point of view. Any simple thoughts?
Well, didn't you start by saying that you already are happy with your
I am
life and
actually, I
family life?
am, and I enjoy with my kids, two kids and wife, everything is good. But then I go to professional life, job, and everything, and I see people succeed, and then and I think the behavior also of others kind of change as they succeed. And I am okay, they are succeeding, but the communications and the relationships feel like getting different as they go a little higher than me in society, either my neighbors, friends, and it's I think everybody faces that. It's not just me. And I mean, I'm not problem with them that they are succeeding, but the problem is that they started to treat me differently as they go up. I mean, so the challenge has been like I'm okay with my life, but again seeing others succeed and then I'm trying to copy them make sometimes my life like kind of miserable. So I was just thinking if any recommendation.
So what are you looking
I'm
for?
looking for in
You're looking for me to tell you something you can do
yes,
or practice.
practice
Okay.
exactly.
And
Yeah,
okay. And how long have you been following my work?
I think more than a year.
Well, I'm not sure what you have read, but practice is poison.
Oh, okay.
Hello, Kapil sir. I hope you are doing well. Sir, this problem with me is currently I'm 19 years old and I was doing forex trading for almost 2 years. And sir, the problem is I applied for a funding and got a good amount of funding in that, which was of 500k. And sir, I put my each and every resources there. I mean, I asked my mother for some money. She sold her gold off and provided me $2,400 for the funding test. I passed that, and I have actually made 34k dollars into that account. And when the my payout time came, the company ran off, and I'm feeling very bad for it. I mean, I have lost that flow of what I was having. The fire inside me has gone, and recently I have joined a BPO to collect again money for my funding, but in the problem with me, the fire was in me of that rat race thing. I don't want to join the rat race. But now it's been like 1 month since I'm working in a company, and I'm getting pretty comfortable in that, and that fire what was inside me is actually going off, and I can feel it. I don't know. I mean, I used to analyze charts every now and then, but now it's like I don't even sit on my setup and everything. It just feels see it's going off.
Hi there. Um, my question is around emotion, and there seems to be a gap between emotion and my reptilian brain can't help but action towards my emotion. Is is the human is the human can't help it, right?
So who told you? Where did you read about quote reptilian brain?
No, I something in my college. Yeah, it's like it's um it's just like an automatic reflex. That's what I'm trying to communicate. But um, there, the like there seems to be something about it that I don't quite fully understand, and I'm wondering if like what's blocking me is me trying to explain it, and I want to know like why is it like that? And I don't know if you felt that
So
way.
it sounds like you're a scientist.
I don't know. I work in finance now, but I,
Well, it sounds like you have a scientific bent. It sounds like you have a academic uh, view about things. It sounds like you uh, have an analytical,
it's true.
black and white, mathematical, biological uh, type of predisposition.
Yeah, that's true.
And those who have that um, really will have, I mean, everybody has a difficult time with truth, but the people who have that type of predisposition and intellectuals and so forth, they're virtually um, side of truth forever.
Yeah, that's my feeling.
Because because truth does not fit into a test tube, and
Yeah,
truth cannot be taught according to principles um, and
yeah,
analysis. And
yeah,
truth is something which lives between the hard lines of science and mathematics. And therefore, it demands that a person either alter himself, not that he should, or that a person has the type of predisposition which allows him to enter almost liquid milieu as opposed to that which is made of brick and mortar.
you for the chance to speak. Um, it seems the decision for you to not give much importance to society, social events, that level of dispassion you've expressed in your writings.
Namaste. I am at this stage of life where language is kind of limiting my performance. Can you give me your understanding?
Hello, Dr. Gupta. I, after reading your work, have found that I'm very fearful of the common people, the psychosis that pervades lots of things, popular delusions. I'm fearful of the consequences of that. I have panic attacks where it seems to me like humanity will overcome me. That there's nothing I can do. I live in a city and I often fear collapse. I have elderly parents who I would not like to see suffer. And my question is, I feel like I cannot exist in time. I don't want to fear people and I don't want to exist in a state of fear. And I'm wondering what it is that allows someone to pursue the truth and not be terrified by what that may lead
Well, the
to.
question is fear is a very big question, and it cannot be answered in this kind of format. But um, what I will say that it isn't about society, and it isn't about other people. World, what the issue is. The world is a sewer, always will be. It's a snake pit, always will be. So the person who worries about sewers and snake pits, um, that's not going to go anywhere. So that's what I can tell you. It is never in the world.
Hello, Kapil. I have this contradiction that I cannot resolve. A few years ago, when my life was in the lowest point, I was searching for answers, and by accident, I discovered the moment, and I discovered you at pretty much the same time. And now that 2 years have passed, the question that I come to is that if is and if I know that it's superior to regular life, I mean, it's because I felt like I can finally start living. So I'm wondering, like, not dropping everything.
You live in a world of concepts. Concepts only lead to more concepts.
Hello, Kapil. Thank you for your work and thank you for taking my question. One of the deep truths that I have understood from your work is that the destination determines the path. And I also understand that everything my mind says is falsehood. I truly heartfelt want because I can only ask that question from my mindscape with my thoughts and my ego as the subject. Can this way of questioning result in a truthful answer, or is asking such a question useless?
It's closer to your heart than your mind.
and have stayed close to the moment, and then it drifted away. And then I return to being able to, and then it drifts away again and again. Does it mean I am not serious?